Hey, how are y'all doing today? Today, I want to share about how practicing African traditional culture gave me back my body. So, also, if you've poked around on this YouTube channel, you'll see that I have a series of classes called Story and Stretch that I teach. I largely teach story and stretch to children, but I've taught a couple of those classes to adults, primarily women. The importance of story, which I've talked about already, it cannot be minimized. And in however it comes, whether it's in folklore or mythology or scripture or sacred texts that are word of mouth, whatever it is, when that story is matched to physical movement, there's a freedom and liberation that happens that is unparalleled. Hmm. So, in many of those classes, if you try any of them, especially if you have little ones, or maybe you just want to do it yourself. In many of those classes, we will move through the story, maybe moving through the story, like actually acting it out or walking through it. And then at the end, we synthesize, we discuss the lessons, whatever it is that we received from the story. And usually the children lead that. It's not me. Um, So, it's a few things. When I first started homeschooling my children, I was looking for places before creating the homeschool cooperative. I was looking for, and even after, looking for places where they could be active with me and where maybe they could be active while I was trying to do something else. So I would look for yoga classes online, and then I would look for yoga classes that had um, African, African American, diasporian, Black faces because those are few and far between. There were some pretty good children's yoga classes, but there weren't a whole lot that looked like us. So it was great, and we would repeat them. Like I'm sure they were like, Mama, again? They never said that to me. But I was like, well, I'm gonna turn this on again. Um, and it was great because we give space to little people needing to move, but adults need to move. People need to move. We are people, we are animals, we need to move. And so I want to ask you, like, has there ever been a song where the words were like dope and the music was so dope and it moved your head and your hips and your heart and your feet, like everything, everything, everything. And you danced until you like couldn't take it anymore. And I laughed because the example that comes up probably isn't the best in the way of words, except that it makes me really happy to party and most of the people who are with me. But blow the whistle, when blow the whistle comes on, blow the whistle comes on. My 17-year-old was like, y'all always lose it. It's not just us, but it's like it gives us a chance as adults, as the parents, as parents to a swath of a range of children and children of aging parents. It gives us a chance to be free. It gives us a chance. It gives us a chance to scream out, what's my favorite word? And fall right back into the beat. So even in that case where it may not be the most um, esoteric high thought, it is still magnificent and very magical. So um, I want to talk about how traditional practice gave me my body or brought it back to being okay for it to rest with my spirit. So when I was a young female minister and I got licensed mm, maybe somewhere in my mid 20s, 20, 25, 26, I don't know, somewhere in there. And there was so there was so much explicit and implicit discussion behavior that made me feel like my body was a liability. Um, that has also happened in teaching, but I talk about that later. Is don't be too attractive. Don't dress too attractive. Don't be too curvy. Cover all that up, lest you cause somebody to think sinful thoughts. Um, um, as a young minister, the attitude we were prepared for, and that often happened, was one of conquest, one of, you know, statement was actually made that I'm looking at this woman in the pulpit, but I'm trying to see how I can knock her down. It's like a status thing. Like um, if I can if I can claim her body and she's up there on Sunday, what a charge that is, what a medal, whatever that is. And so the dichotomy of the separation of spirit and flesh is taught so often that it doesn't allow for the connection or communion of spirit and flesh. The fact that the flesh can bring you into better connection with your spirit, spirit can bring you into better connection with your body, and vice versa. Like they are. I mean, not vice versa, but in the circle, it is a continued loop of um, exploration and excitement and celebration and just one thing after the next, so many things. And we're not taught that. So my mother was reared Pentecostal or Holiness Church. So they would dance and they would tarry, meaning they would sit and pray until the Holy Spirit gave them utterance. They would do all the things. And I wasn't raised Pentecostal or holiness. I was raised Baptist. So in Baptist churches, even though dancing may happen, there's a more straight straight laced. If the organ pops up and somebody wants to go for it, okay, but it's not a given that that's going to happen all the time. And an aside is that if you are looking for this particular connection between just connections for Black folks in our practice. The movie Voices of the Gods is a really wonderful reference. So back to it, being an Akan practitioner first and then a priest um, put me in a place of celebrating space with all of me. Coming into a space where I was learning in my brain, I was making connections to things I had read or was being taught, and I was learning in my spirit, and my body was helping to move all of that around and move it all around and move it all around. And so these spaces that we're in, like in one of the stories I told before about being in a home space and feeling overcome and beginning to weep. Um, the opportunity to move my body, not that it has not happened in spaces where I've been sitting still, but that is such a powerful part of um, cultural and religious practice, and it's in many different indigenous groups. But for me, um, it connected it connected me to me. And the Black Church has retained a lot of our traditional practices. We still have blue notes and call and response, both musically and in speech. Respect for elders. Um, laying on of hands, reaching out and touching, all those various things. But we've also adapted and accumulated some European practices like the Lyceum model, where we're going to all sit like we are in a lecture hall and not move. And so there are many scientific studies that talk about the fact that sitting is not good for the body. Steadily sitting is not good. Like even sitting here, when I get up today, I'm going to stretch my knees and stretch my legs. I just finished yoga, but excuse me, I am now sitting to talk to you. So I will get up and probably do a forward fold and those kind of things as I'm moving. There are so many spaces where there is a continuum of that movement. And so when we think of ring shouts move in a counterclockwise circle. Um, Everybody moving. Actually, you see this in centers, even though it has been corrupted and has it's been siphoned off of, but you see that they're moving in a counterclockwise circle, and it's a ring shout. It's just it is its sacredness is being siphoned off. But in ring shout circles, in b boy and b girl ciphers, in Benbe's, in home space, in all of these things, there is movement. There's movement in that counterclockwise. There's movement in that counterclockwise circle. And um, in yoga, there are movements that start from the right to the left because of the physiology of our bodies and what that helps to do with our bodies. So for me, returning to myself, um, traditional practices help me to return to myself, to realize the absolute necessity of being in a place where um, singing, which is, of course, activating the vagus nerve and bringing peace to the body, movement, which is helping to move the blood and the joints in my body, and is putting me in a place of trance. Um, Lessons, which are coming in a bunch of different ways. Lessons come through the songs, lessons come in the dance, lessons come from the elders, lessons come in the messages. There's so many things, but to have all of those things in one space is such a blessing. It's such a portal. It's such an opening. It's all of the things. And to have any of them vilified or thought, um, it's just not an opportune time for that. This is, it's distracts too much from this or that. Is robbery. Um, it's robbery. So I'm grateful. There will be, of course, in each one of these that I've been sharing, there are rabbit holes to dive into. I have more things I'd really like to share about the connection of spirit and body uh, that I've learned in many different places, and then the similarities and so many of the practices that I've experienced. I have been um, I have been in the practice of healing, whether it's as a minister, as an okomfo, as or a priest, as a yogi, as a teacher for 20 something years. And what I've been shown and what I pray you take with you today is that there are more things that coalesce and come back together. There are more things that connect than things that are separate. And even in the things that are beautiful and unique on their own, that don't have to be aligned with anything else or connected to anything else or have parallels that go, and this is exactly this. Practicing all of these very things always ends up connecting me. And I want to suggest that for you, if you are earnestly involved in things that you've been taught, these things do not go together. When you really let yourself be involved in them, you find that they do connect, especially because they connect through you. And then because they connect through you, you share that connection with someone else. So um, let these cultures, let these practices that are often not connected. I have to say this real quick. When I was in seminary, and I'll have to break this down later. When I was in seminary, I remember going to a yoga class and my roommate saying, "Don't let any spirits jump on you." So it's amazing now that yoga is practiced in churches, it's in fellowship halls, chair yoga, all these different yogas are practiced in churches. But at that moment, the concern was, oh my goodness, you're going to open yourself up to something else. And I encourage you to open yourself up to something else. Open yourself up to those things that feel like cool, clean water. Open yourself up to those teachers who are kind and create safe spaces. Open yourself up to those experiences that call out to you and align with you. Not because someone said that that was the appropriate thing, but because your spirit, your body, your mind, and heart, you feel at peace when you are involved. So I will see you again tomorrow. This is Reverend Akomfo, Mwalimu, Yogi, Mama, Sister Aya. And I'll see you soon. Peace.